Test. Test?
Standardized test, standardized test, standardized test.
Test, test, test.
It was just a test.
Hey y'all, Tom, ND3N here, just like it says on the hat, and thanks for dropping by my little shack in the corner for a ham shack chat about the amateur radio test. Now, if you're studying for a ham test, either the tech or upgrade, then you probably found that there are some topics that come really easily to you, while others are just hard for you to get your head around. I'm going to give you 5 tips on studying for the ham test. I've done a lot of studying in my lifetime. I have a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees. I was an adjunct professor for about 15 years teaching graduate students. These tips are the same ones that I gave my students. Let me start by explaining how the tests are put together. The easiest way to do that is to look at the question identifier. Each test, technician, general, and extra, is called an element, and each consists of 10 sub-elements. Each sub-element has between 1 and 6 topics, and your test will be one question from each topic. Here's how the questions are labeled, and it shows which test you're taking, which element, which sub-element, and which question within the sub-element, within the topic. Each element, tech, general, and extra, are different. Not only do they increase in difficulty, but while the sub-element titles are similar, they do cover different topics and different levels of the topic. Let's take a closer look. The first letter indicates which element is being tested. T for technician, G for general, and E for extra. Next, you have a number which indicates which of the 10 sub-elements is being tested. 1, 2, 3, up to 0. 1 through 9 and 0. The letter following indicates which topic within the sub-element is being tested, and the last 2 digits indicate the specific question within the topic. This brings me to my first tip. Study for the test you're taking. You might also get lucky. Don't try to study ahead so you can take the next test. Keep your focus on the test level that you'll be taking. Now, if you were in school and studying for, say, a basic algebra test, you wouldn't waste time studying for a trigonometry or calculus test. Also, be careful not to get off on tangents. Stick to what you need to study for the test. Now, I certainly understand how one question can lead to another. Avoid the temptation to follow the white rabbit down the hole.
Because I'm following a white rabbit.
This brings me to my next tip. Set aside a time to study. One limit that we all have is time.
Time.
You need time to sleep, work, eat, socialize, and do all those other things that comes with living your life. Set aside a specific time to study for your test, then force yourself to study during those times, even if you don't feel up to it. If you find yourself skipping a study session, the next session will become easier to skip. It doesn't matter if you study for 1 or 2 hours a day, have marathon study sessions on the weekends, or have 1 or 2 days a week when you dedicate an hour to study. Find a study schedule that fits you and your life, then stick to it. And my next tip is kind of related. Have a place to study. Trying to study with a TV playing in the background or other distractions, it isn't fair to you. Find a quiet place in or out of your home and do your studying there. When I was studying for my test, I would spend my lunch hour in my car every weekday and take the weekends off. If you have a home office or just a quiet room, that's a good place. Also, consider your local library. Having a time and place to study would be worthless if you didn't have a plan to study. Early on in your studying, determine which topics you'll be studying. Write them down and assign your study time accordingly. Keep in mind you'll need more study time on some topics and less on others. Notice that I said you should study the topics, not the questions. If you have a good understanding of a given topic, the answers to the questions in that topic will come by themselves. If you understand Ohm's law, you can apply it to any question about the relation between resistance, current, and voltage. Well, rote memory of the questions has been used by a lot of hams. Understanding the topic principles that led to the questions is much more efficient. What sounds easier? Learning 35 topics, each with similar questions, or learning 423 separate questions, which is how many questions there are in the technician pool? That isn't to say you shouldn't have a passing knowledge of the actual questions, but use the questions to measure your knowledge of the topics, not vice versa. I've included links in the video description where you can download copies of each question pool containing all the questions for the tech, general, and extra pools. Please don't try the rote memorization method. I understand that there may be topics and questions that you just don't get, regardless of how much effort you put into studying them. My final tip is not to ignore them, but don't focus on topics you can't understand. There are 35 topics covered in the Tech and General test and 50 topics within the Extra test. There will be one question per topic, so 50 questions for the Extra and 35 each for the lower two test. A passing score for the test is 74%. This equals out to 26 out of 35 questions answered correctly for the Technician and General exams, and 37 out of 50 for the Extra exam. Conversely, this means you can miss 9 questions for the Tech and General and 13 questions for the Extra. This gives you a bit of a pad, so if there's a topic or two that you just can't grasp, no matter how hard you pound your head on the table, you can slack off on studying it a little bit. There's no need to put a lot of effort into these questions at the expense of all the others. Now, you don't want to do this for too many topics. 1 or 2 would probably be okay. 3 might be pushing it, and more will be a disadvantage because you still want to have that pad in case you make a mistake during the test. All the tests are multiple choice with 4 possible answers. Only 1 will be the correct answer. Of the others, 1 will be close but no cigar. The other 2 will, with a bit of knowledge and familiarity with the topic, be obviously wrong. This is kind of a rule of thumb, but it applies for a lot of the questions. Your goal when studying the topics that you're having problems with is to be familiar enough to whittle down the answers to a couple possibly correct answers. Now, you have a 25% chance of picking the right answer if you just randomly select one. If you can discount 2 of the wrong, or what they call distractor answers, then your odds go up to 50%. Now, I see on social media all the time new hams bragging that they aced their tests. Personally, my response is usually to type out a quick congratulations while rolling my eyes. You see, in my eyes, and in the eyes of the FCC, and many, if not most hams, there is absolutely no difference between someone who aces their test and someone who barely squeaks by. Everyone who passes has the same privileges and will experience the same thrill when making their first contact. Each will be just as happy with their first rig and want to show it off to everyone. Each will experience the same ups and downs within this hobby as the rest of us. The new ham who brags about acing their test reminds me of the kid who explains to the cop, "Officer, I couldn't have crashed my car into the bridge abutment. I aced my driving test."
There was a car accident.
In summary, study for the test you'll be taking. Have a time and place set aside for your studies. have a plan for your study and don't focus only on things you're having trouble with. Then once you get past your test, regardless of your final score, graciously accept the congratulations that will come from your now fellow hams. We've all been through what you've succeeded at and understood what it takes. Please take a moment to give me a like, and please share this content with your friends, especially on ham-related social media sites. Please leave a comment below. If you're having problems with a particular topic, let me know. I just might do a video on it. Also, tell me what methods or tips you might have for taking your ham test. Thanks for dropping by my little shack in the corner for a ham shack chat about studying for the test. I hope you found some encouragement and picked up on at least a couple of my tips. For now, and as always, I'm at your service. 73 until the next time, I'm Tom, ND3N, and I'm out.